Welcome to this USF Institute for Translational Research Education on Adolescent Drug Abuse Ready Talk on the importance of literature reviews. Treatment and policy for adolescent drug abuse and use have implications across a lifespan. Youth who use drugs often do poorly in school, interact with the criminal justice and child welfare systems, and face poor outcomes as an adult due to chronic drug use. Hence, the importance of a literature review cannot be overestimated. A good literature review substantiates the claim you are making. It establishes that a policy or treatment issue is important, the reasons why, and what has been done to address the problem to date. It should lead naturally to a discussion of alternatives and the selection of a preferred course of action. In this Ready Talk, we will cover how to define and stay focused on a literature review, what tools are available, and provide a checklist of questions and steps to help you start to prepare undertaking a literature review. So exactly what is a good literature review? It is a little bit of magic and a lot of technology. A good lit review is essentially the basis of any research project presentation and manuscript, because both the research project, presentation, and manuscript is grounded in good scholarship. Good scholarship requires you to pull together statistics, theory, and best practices succinctly, concisely, and in such a fashion to create an argument that supports your position. Hence, the key to a good research paper, a good research project presentation, is the synthesis of a well-conceived literature review and a clear research statement. A literature review, of course, comes with a laundry list. It contains all or most of the major studies on your topic. It relies on the appropriate primary sources. This means you do not cite what someone else said that somebody said in an article that you are reading. You go and you find the original source that individual cited, and you cite that. It is well organized. It has clearly developed ideas. A good lit review includes a needs statement. Further, it does not rely upon a single source for data. It uses accurate and current statistics. If I'm writing a paper in 2018, I should not be using data from 2002 unless I'm doing a comparative historical analysis of 2002 and 2016. A good lit review is understandable and to the point. It uses generally plain language, is well structured, and is understandable by a general audience. It uses consistent definitions and arguments. If you start out calling adolescents adolescents in the beginning of your paper, they should remain adolescents all the way through the paper until they transition into adulthood. You don't alternate adolescence, youth, teens, etc. You don't say treatment is defined as this in one section of the paper, and then treatment is defined as this in a second section of the paper. It's consistent. Your arguments are consistent and reinforce as you read through the paper. One thing that most people don't think happens in a good lit review, a good literature review gathers opposing viewpoints. You want to see who is countering your argument and why, so you can address those areas in which someone may disagree with you in your literature review. Because you want to be aware what people will say. I'd like to do option A, and everyone says, no, I want option B. Well, why do they want option B? Why is option A still a better option? A good lit review concludes with a synopsis and implications for the field. The implications for the field section essentially states this kind of study, this kind of option provides this kind of improvement in the field, is a step forward in the research in the field, and broadens our understanding of why these things happen, something that from a larger, broader perspective, a 30,000-mile high perspective. A good lit review has accurate and correctly cited references to the literature. That means you don't cut and paste references in from a website someplace else. You make sure they are all in the appropriate citation style, and that if the reader decides to go and check that reference out, they can actually find it again. And a good lit review uses authoritative sources when citing facts. This means Wikipedia may be good for a general overview of a topic, but you really want to go into the research literature. You really want to read the actual government report. You probably want to look at the statutory language when you're going to be citing elements from those kinds of materials. As you move into keeping focused on your lit review, many people get lost in trying to conduct a lit review because it's not just the same as writing a 5-reference source paper. So to start out, to keep focused, ask yourself, what is your topic? Be as specific as possible. Do not try to do the paper on adolescent drug use in the United States. That is a dissertation and an encyclopedia. Stay focused, be specific. The more specific you are in defining your research question or elements of your research question helps you to determine what your keywords will be, helps you know exactly what you want to look at. Now, there is the possibility that the topic you want to look at may not have a lot on it. So you have the choice at that point to say, I'm not really finding enough to be able to make a case for this. What can I do as an alternative? And then you start the process over. Redefine your question, determine the elements of the question, determine the keywords, etc. Once I have my topic, I need to decide where I'm going to go to look for this information. So I want to identify my sources. If I'm looking at a multidisciplinary perspective, and in substance abuse, drug abuse, truly multidisciplinarity is standard, you may be looking at empirical research studies, everything from controlled studies to observational studies. You may be looking at some of the state and or federal statutes on how are programs created, what kinds of funding is available. You may also be looking at what are some of the latest statistics, knowing that I need statistics, that I need legislation, that I need the research studies that have been done, then allows me to decide, legislation, I probably need to go to LexisNexis or Westlaw. I'm looking at empirical research, then the resource I will be using will probably be either a behavioral perspective, which means it's PsycInfo, a medical framework, which means it's PubMed, a social work criminal justice framework, which means social work abstracts and or criminal justice abstracts. Because the individual components of the question, depending upon where your question takes you, means that you will be changing resources. If I'm writing a paper on the impact of adolescent drug abuse and the trajectory into the juvenile justice system, I will be in the criminal justice literature more than I will be anyplace else. So it's a decision point you get to make. Now you've decided you're writing your paper, you know what resources you want to go to, and how do you use the resources. Using a database, a research database, is not like doing a Google search. Oftentimes you have a specialized vocabulary for the discipline. In PubMed, that's the medical subject headings. In PsycInfo, it's the source of psychological index terms. Criminal justice has its own list of specialized vocabulary terms. The same with social work. So now you're looking at the literature of a discipline, the language of a discipline. Many of the databases that I've named, PsycInfo, PubMed, Social Work Apps, Criminal Justice Apps, they have an online thesaurus, so I can find out my terms. I can also maybe read a little bit about when my term was developed and what it's used for. Maybe there's advanced search features such as filters and limits. Okay, I've never used PsycInfo before. I kind of think I know how to do it, but I'm not really getting the results that I want. So maybe I need to set up an appointment with a librarian and do a one-on-one consultation as to how do I best use this resource or these resources for my topic. And it's a matter of keeping up with literature as well. writing a research paper or working on a research project over a period of time means that you may be looking at the review of the literature over a semester. So many of the databases have specialized features such as email alerts where you can say, I like that article, let me know if anyone else cites this. Some of the databases also allow you to set up a personalized account where you can save your search strategy that you just ran. And then as the database is updated weekly, you get updates every week delivered to your mailbox. Other databases have other specialized features such as related citation searches or forward citation searches. Again, if you don't know how to use these features within the databases, it's worthwhile setting up an appointment to meet with a librarian to say, how do I set these things up to help me manage my keeping up with the literature? So you've run your search, you determined where you need to go, you determined how you want to keep up. Now you want to know, how do you get your stuff? I've got these articles, these book chapters, these books, these reports. Some of them I can get through the USF libraries because they're here electronically or they're here on the shelf. And some of the things that are there I can't get access to because USF libraries do not own them. Well, in that case, it's very simple. Set up an interlibrary loan account. Interlibrary loan is free to you. So you can simply set up an account and then you put requests in for these items. They're delivered to you, if possible, as a PDF file. In the case of a book, the book will be sent to you. You can pick it up at the local library. So there's never an excuse not to use a seminal piece of research that is perfect for your paper, but not sitting in the USF library. And as you're running your search and you're gathering all this information, how do you manage the stuff that you're collecting? Do you download it and print everything and make piles? Do you email it to yourself and keep it in an electronic archive? Or do you learn how to use a bibliographic citation management software program, such as EndNote, which is free for students? Again, if you've never used a bibliographic citation management program, there are a lot of advantages. In the advanced discussion Ready Talk that we do, we'll be doing talking more about using EndNote, the preferred bibliographic citation management software program here at USF. But learning how to manage what you have and what you still need to get and determining what else you still need to get is best done with some kind of management program. And again, if you don't know how to use it, you can set up an appointment at any of the USF libraries and learn how to use it in probably about an hour. One of the things that I always suggest that when you're doing a literature review and you're sorting something really very detailed is that you keep a lit review notebook. So you know what your research question is, you know the elements of the research question, you determine the concepts that you're using, you keep a list of the databases that you searched and how you searched them. If you use any of the special features such as classification codes, filters, or limits. And the reason for doing this is really to give you an idea of what it is you've done, because I can guarantee you after you've been searching for several hours across different databases, everything starts to look the same. So having a notebook of where you've tracked this helps you learn what areas of literature are best to answer what kinds of questions, and maybe perhaps what areas you still need assistance in learning how to search better. And finally, and to recap, getting started, get and set up your basic tools. Set up your research lit review notebook. Set up ILLiad if you don't have an account. Set up appointments with librarians so you'll be ready to go and talk to them about your research question and where you might go to use the databases you need. Clarify your research topic. Having a really well-defined research topic is critical. Determine your major concepts and your potential search terms. Determine the approach you want. Am I looking at a legislative perspective? My databases will be a lot different than if I'm looking at a clinical treatment perspective. If I'm looking at from a legal perspective, my databases will be LexisNexis and Westlaw. primarily. If I'm looking at treatment perspectives, I'm going to be probably in PsycInfo, Social Work, Medline, or other allied health databases. Being in the databases, knowing what databases I'm going to use, helps me determine what my search strategies are going to be. So at the end of the day, I have a really nice understanding and documentation of what I've done that can help me as I move forward on this literature review and help inform me as I go to different literature reviews in the future. So in closing, we've discussed that a good lit review has a well-defined question, a good background on why the topic is important from the perspective of adolescent behavioral health, and what is currently best practice in the field. We examined the importance of staying focused during the lifetime of the literature review process and discussed tips to help stay focused. And at the end, we provided a reminder checklist for conducting literature review. If you have any questions on how to conduct a lit review, please feel free to contact librarians and ask us what might be your next steps. But come to us with a really well-defined question and what you hope to accomplish from the review of the literature. And we can help you go from there to creating the literature review that you will need for your research project presentation and your manuscript. Thank you.